Welcome to the Narrative Mindset Podcast. If this is your first time tuning in, I would appreciate it if you went back and viewed previous episodes when you get time. So, it is the weekend, and had a pretty decent week. It was, I don't know, it got kind of mundane at the end of the week. And when I worked Friday, it was mostly, I guess, I don't know. I really didn't want to work the whole day, but, it is what it is. So, but all in all, it went pretty good. But thank you to all the viewers, all three of you. Appreciate it. Appreciate you for tuning in, for dealing with the different wild things that go on with the Narrative Mindset Podcast. I will say real quick that starting a podcast and maintaining a podcast is really a trying thing, and I can say that one of the most frustrating things about operating a podcast is that you want the best sound, of course, but the best sound is also kind of expensive. It's a little difficult to get a hold of and try to, get the right parameters, I would guess. And I mean, even when you spend money, on the right equipment, you still have to, I guess, have the right settings and everything, which can be pretty trying also, because it doesn't just work, it's not like a plug and play, unless you have a voice for a podcast, then it's plug and play. But you got to remember, it's not plug and play because you're trying to get your voice to sound a certain way, and when it doesn't, the right settings, the right environment, the right everything, the right software to record your podcast, and it's just all kind of stuff. So, like I said, starting a podcast can be really trying, but it's something that it definitely kind of, it's a thing that you do, and you don't make a lot of money unless you're famous or whatever, if you can get a gathering pretty quick. But it definitely does not make, any to a small amount of money, and that's over time. And that's after doing a lot. So I just wanted to get that out the way. I am, it's like a daily struggle, kind of, because I post episodes every day. So it's like a daily struggle for me because I'm trying to, come up with content, and I have these short bursts of motivation. And it's like, sometimes I feel like my content isn't, people want to hear. And then, I just say, you know what, screw it. I'm putting it out anyways. It's whatever, because I keep having to remember that it's what I want to put out. It's not what people want to hear. They may be attracted to what I put out, but that's a hopeful, not a reason to do the content that I do. So, but today this episode, we're gonna be getting into the power of saying no and setting boundaries. It's a guide to protecting your energy and your self-care. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get caught up in the hustle and bustle of daily life and to forget to prioritize your own needs and well-being. We often find ourselves saying yes to every request, invitation, and obligation that come our way, without stopping to consider whether it aligns with our values, our goals, and our energy levels. However, learning to say no and set boundaries is a crucial aspect of maintaining our physical, emotional, and mental health. The demands of modern life can be relentless, from juggling work and family responsibilities to staying connected through technology. Many people feel stretched thin amid deadlines, social obligations, and constant stream of notifications. It's easy to lose sight of personal limits. This constant state of busyness can lead to stress, fatigue, and eventually burnout. That's why setting boundaries is more important than ever. It serves as a foundation for self-care, clarity, and a more fulfilling life. Boundaries are invisible lines we draw to protect our time, energy, and emotional well-being. They help us define what is acceptable and what is not in our interactions with others, as well as how we manage our commitments. Boundaries are not about building walls. Rather, they're about creating healthy space for ourselves to thrive. Boundaries come in various forms, including physical boundaries, which are personal space, privacy, and physical touch. Because one thing that I hate for a person to invade my personal space. It really, really bothers me. And that's what I think people in today's world, I think it's something that we've forgotten. Emotional boundaries, protecting your feelings and not absorbing others' emotions and knowing when to say no to emotional labor. That's a good one, protecting your feelings. You just have to be careful about the people in your environment and the people you interact with, because a lot of people I found that a lot of people, adults, more or less, like to kind of dance around your feelings, because they can kind of sense that, you're a certain kind of person. So emotional boundaries are an important one too. Time boundaries, deciding how you spend your time, setting limits on availability, and managing the work-life balance. That's a pretty important one, I can say. I think on that note, I think we learn later in life about time boundaries, as well as the other two also. But time boundaries are really important, and the reason I say this is because before I did the work on myself, I had a cousin who said something one day that I really didn't understand. When he said it, he said, treat it like it's a business. I didn't really understand it right then, but now I do, because I spent a lot of time hanging out with friends. And hanging out with friends is fine, but you have to understand that you have to have time boundaries, because we only have so much time in life, and you really don't want to waste time on things that aren't helping you out in life. It's okay to have fun, but you want to make sure that the things that you're doing are, at least in my point of view, you want to make sure that the things you're doing are adding to your well-being, are adding to you positively. It's kind of like, T.I. said. He said in the song, he said, if it ain't about the money, I ain't picking up my phone. Definitely understand that one. Mental boundaries. Preserving your thoughts, beliefs, and opinions, especially in discussions or debates. That's something that I have to work on, mental boundaries, because I'm the kind of person that I'm going to voice my opinion. I'm not going to hold my opinion or my belief, but I only do it when the other person seems to be, kind of bullying with their opinions. Like their opinions are over and above, overshadowing you. And it's like, well, hang on, here's my opinion. Back at you, Material boundaries. How to share or protect your personal belongings and resources. Mental boundaries. One thing that comes to mind when material boundaries. How you share or protect your personal belongings and resources. But one thing that comes to mind when I think of material boundaries are just things that you have. And one thing that I found that just a hint that bothers me is I have people telling me a lot that are just trying to be kind of funny, I think. And they'll tell me, well, like I have a newer vehicle. And they'll say, well, I wouldn't drive it, to work or here. And I get a little bit offended on that, because it's like, I paid for it, so I'm going to drive it where I want to drive it. If I want to drive it up Mount Everest, I paid for it. So when you get time, go get one and drive it where you want to drive it. But that's where, me, that's where that material boundaries kind of hits me. Healthy boundaries help you feel respected, safe, and in control of your life. They allow you to engage with others while honoring your own needs and values. Boundaries are deeply rooted in psychology. They stem from our sense of worth, autonomy, and identity. When we set and maintain boundaries, we communicate to ourselves and others that our needs matter. This fosters a sense of empowerment and self-respect. Research in psychology shows that people with strong boundaries tend to have healthier relationships, higher self-esteem, and lower levels of stress. Boundaries also reduce the likelihood of resentment and emotional exhaustion. On the flip side, a lack of boundaries can lead to codependency, burnout, and difficulty asserting oneself in various aspects of life. Setting boundaries doesn't mean you care less about others. It means you are taking responsibility for your own well-being. This is, in turn, can enhance your capacity for empathy and authentic connection. Why setting boundaries is important. Setting boundaries is essential for protecting our energy, our time, and our emotional well-being. When we fail to set boundaries, we can become overwhelmed, drained, and burnt out. We may feel like we're being pulled in too many directions, and our own needs and desires get lost in the process. By setting clear boundaries, we can prioritize our own needs and goals. We can protect our energy and our time. Can definitely reduce stress and anxiety. We can improve our relationships by being more intentional and present. We can increase our sense of self-worth and confidence. Strong boundaries also serve as a filter. They help you make decisions that align with your values. They allow you to focus on what truly matters, rather than being pulled into obligations that don't serve your well-being. Over time, this cultivates a sense of balance, a sense of fulfillment, and a sense of personal growth. While the benefits of boundaries are clear, many people struggle to implement them, and some common obstacles include you have people-pleasing tendencies, which means you want to be liked or avoid disappointing others, and it can make it difficult to say no because you're wanting to be part of a crowd so much. You want to maintain that relationship, so you avoid disappointing people. It's something that I do. I mean, don't get me wrong. I avoid being an asshole because, when I do, it makes people bag off like really, really quick, because I'm such a nice person. And true enough, I like to talk, I like to laugh, and I want to be part of those crowds, but it's like, the being an asshole is like, it makes people bag off, but it's not something that I like doing. Guilt or fear of letting others down. You might worry that setting boundaries is selfish or will hurt somebody's feelings. That's a good one also, because you feel like you feel guilty and you feel like you're letting others down because you set boundaries for yourself, and you worry about, who it's going to hurt, and which is something you shouldn't do. You really shouldn't even care because you're doing it for your own self. Another one is the fear of conflict or confrontation. Some people avoid boundaries to keep the peace, even at their own expense. I've done that before because I don't want to. I don't like confrontation, right? And I really don't like conflict. And it's kind of at my own expense because, I don't know, you have a lot of, I guess, what can I say? You have a lot of hunters out here, and, you got the guy that I'm assuming they look at me like I'm not going to do anything. I'm not a fighter. I don't like confrontation because if you've listened to some of my earlier episodes, growth is what matters. So I avoid conflict because I know that if I injure the other person, then they're going to, get the police involved, and I got to go through all this misdemeanor or, court. And then you got to understand, a misdemeanor or a felony or anything on my record, that ruins everything that I built. So, that's why I avoid a lot of things. Another one is the lack of practice or poor role models. If you grew up in an environment where boundaries were not respected, it may feel unnatural to assert your own needs. I can understand that one. You didn't have a role model, so it feels like unnatural because that's all you know. Another one is personal values. And before I go to that, I want to add something else to the previous one, the lack of practice or poor role models. My father was a short guy, but I mean, one thing he did not mind was going to jail. It didn't even matter. So I just want to add that in as far as role models, so it was kind of a negative, positive thing with him and me. I just wanted to add that in. Unclear personal values. It's hard to set limits if you're unsure of your priorities or what matters most to you. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to do anything if you're unclear about anything in which whatever direction that you're trying to go in. It's hard to set limits if you have a foggy vision of that particular path. Recognizing these challenges is the first step. With awareness, you can begin to transform old patterns and develop healthier habits around boundaries. Saying no can be challenging, especially if you're a people pleaser or have a hard time asserting yourself. However, it's a crucial part of setting boundaries and prioritizing your own needs. Here are some tips for saying no effectively. The first one is be direct and honest. You don't need a lengthy explanation. A simple, I'm unable to commit to that right now is enough. And every now and then, you may have to be a little bit stern with that. Practice assertive communication. Use I statements such as, I don't have the bandwidth for this project. And which is understandable because when you assert the word I, it's kind of like you're putting your foot down on that one. Offer alternatives when appropriate. If you can't help, suggest another resource or a different timeline if it feels right. But that's fine, to say, hey, I can't help, but, try this, or so-and-so will help you, or go over here or whatever. Another one is stand firm. It's okay to repeat no if someone pushes back. You don't owe anyone more than your honest response. I agree, because some people a lot of people, I don't know why they like to push your buttons. So standing firm is definitely something I recommend, because a lot of people, a lot of predators, they don't respect you until you're assertive, and they'll just keep kind of picking at you until you push back. Last one, remember your reasons. Keep in mind why you're saying no. It aligns with your values and protects your well-being. Now, I never thought about that the reason to keep in mind why I'm saying no. I mean, probably because by the time they get me to that point, I'm so pissed off, I don't really, the thought process is a little bit down the road. With practice, saying no becomes easier and more natural. You'll start to notice the positive impact on your energy, your mood, and your relationships. Practical strategies, how to identify, communicate, and maintain boundaries. Setting boundaries is a skill that can be learned and refined. Here are some practical steps to help you get started. Number 1, identify your needs and limits. Reflect on situations where you feel overwhelmed, resentful, or drained. These are often signs that a boundary is needed. Ask yourself, what do I need to feel comfortable and respected in this situation? Number 2, clarify your values and priorities. Understanding what matters most will help you set boundaries that support your goals and well-being. Number 3, communicate clearly and respectfully. When expressing a boundary, be calm, direct, and use assertive language. Avoid blaming or criticizing others. Instead, focus on your needs. Number 4, anticipate pushback. Some people may resist your boundaries, especially if they're used to you saying yes. Stay firm and restate your limits if necessary. Number 5, follow through with consequences. Consistency is key. If a boundary is crossed, calmly reinforce the consequences you've set. Number 6, practice self-care. Setting boundaries can feel uncomfortable at first. Take care of yourself emotionally. Maybe by a journal, talk to a trusted friend, or seek support if needed. Number 7, review and adjust as needed. Boundaries are not set in stone. Check in with yourself regularly and make changes as your needs or circumstances evolve. Real-life examples, boundaries in action. Understanding boundaries in theory is helpful, but seeing them in action can make them feel more approachable. Here are some scenarios where boundaries play a key role. At work, Sarah's manager often asks her to stay late. She notices she's exhausted and wants more time for her family. She says, "I appreciate your trusting me, but I need to leave on time to fulfill my family commitments. I can help tomorrow during regular hours." With friends, Mike's friends frequently invite him out on weekends, but he needs sleep to function well at work. He responds, "Thanks for thinking of me. I'm going to skip tonight and rest up, but let's catch up this weekend." In family settings, Emily's relatives expect her to host every holiday. She feels overwhelmed and suggests, "I'd love to celebrate together, but I can't host every year. Maybe we can take turns or meet at a restaurant next time." Online, John is part of a group chat that drains his energy. He lets the group know, "I'm stepping back from the group for a while to focus on some personal projects. I'll check in occasionally, but won't be as active." With material possessions, Lisa's neighbor often borrows her tools and returns them late. She decides, "I need my tools on hand, so I have to say no to lending them out for a while." These examples show that boundaries can be expressed kindly and assertively, enhancing respect and understanding in relationships. Actionable tips, steps for setting healthy boundaries. If you're ready to start setting boundaries in your life, try these practical steps. Number 1, start small. Practice setting boundaries in low-stakes situations to build confidence. Number 2, use clear language. Be specific about what you need or are not willing to do. Number 3, stay consistent. Reinforce your boundaries every time they're tested. Number 4, seek support. Talk to friends, mentors, or therapists who can encourage and guide you. Number 5, practice self-compassion. Remind yourself that it's okay to prioritize your well-being. Number 6, celebrate small wins. Acknowledge your progress, even if it's just saying no once. Number 7, reflect regularly. Check in with yourself about how your boundaries are serving you and adjust as needed. Overcoming obstacles, dealing with pushback and self-doubt. Setting boundaries doesn't always go smoothly. You can encounter pushback from others who are used to your old patterns, or you might struggle with self-doubt. Here are some ways to handle these challenges. Stay grounded in your values. When others push back, remember why you set the boundary in the first place. Use calm, assertive repetition. If someone persists, repeat your boundary kindly but firmly. Let go of guilt. Remind yourself that caring for your own needs is not selfish but necessary. Accept that not everyone will understand. Some people may not like your boundaries, and that's okay. Those who respect you will adapt. Seeking reassurance. Talk to supportive people who can remind you of the importance of self-care and boundaries. Over time, as you reinforce your boundaries, both you and those around you will adjust. You will likely notice increased respect, healthier relationships, and a stronger sense of self. Conclusion: empowerment and ongoing self-care. Setting boundaries and mastering the art of saying no is a journey, not a one-time event. It takes practice, patience, and self-compassion. Each time you honor your limits, you reinforce your self-worth and create space for greater joy, balance, and fulfillment in your life. Remember, boundaries are an act of self-care and respect, not only for yourself, but for your relationship as well. By prioritizing your needs, you empower yourself to show up more authentically and intentionally in all areas of your life. So, give yourself permission to set boundaries. Say no when needed, and embrace the freedom that comes with honoring your true self. Your well-being is worth it. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get caught up in the hustle and bustle of daily life and forget to prioritize your own needs and well-being. We often find ourselves saying yes to every request, invitation, and obligation that comes our way, without stopping to consider whether it aligns with our values, our goals, or energy levels. However, learning to say no and set boundaries is a crucial aspect of maintaining our physical, emotional, and mental health. Why setting boundaries is important. Setting boundaries is essential for protecting our energy, time, and emotional well-being. When we fail to set boundaries, we can become overwhelmed, we can become drained and burned out. We may not feel like we're being pulled. We may feel like we're being pulled in too many directions, and our own needs and desires get lost in the process. By setting clear boundaries, we can prioritize our own needs and goals. We can protect our energy and time. We can reduce stress and anxiety. We can improve our relationships by being more intentional and present. We can increase our sense of worth and confidence. Earlier, I kind of made a mistake and I said the sense of hell. It's kind of funny because the whole thing is a little bit of a hell to go through because you're doing things to avoid certain things. And me, myself, I've always been a non-confrontational person. Never been a fighter. I don't like to argue with people. And an extra thing is I put my growth first, always, over everything. So learning how to say no really is something that I practice quite a bit because I try to practice all the things that are listed because in the world we live in today, as I keep saying, you have a lot of predators. So if you're a kind of I'm not going to say anything or whatever. People, you kind of ignore some things that people say or whatever. I don't know. People just tend to come on stronger, but in my own words, I always recommend, taking the higher road unless you have to engage in something with somebody. Because you have to remember that most people who are on the other side of you saying no are coming at you from a perspective of what they're going through in their life. So whatever they're going through or however they feel about themselves is the precursor to most of their actions. So you have to remember that or try to remember it when you're responding. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Narrative Mindset Podcast.